Welcome back, Headliner Nation. I've got a challenge for all of you today because why? I want to give away some draft guides. Why not? It's almost the weekend. The weather is beautiful outside. I want to give away some draft guides to some of you lovely people. So make sure you leave a comment below because if you leave a comment, I'm going to pick one of you to win a draft guide. But here's the catch, and this is where the challenge comes in. The more likes we get on this video, the more draft guides I am going to give away. Heck, I'd love to see 1,000 likes on this video. But if we can get more likes on this video, I'm going to start picking more people to give draft guides away to. So we're going to let this video roll through the weekend, and then on Monday, I'm going to be picking, hopefully, several of you to either get a free draft guide, or if you've already purchased yours, we're going to go ahead and hit you with a refund, so then you get yours for free here in 2020. Because in this episode, we're going to continue my rankings of top 100 fantasy football players for 2020, and we are rolling into number 79 through 70. So make sure you comment, make sure you like that video, sit back, buckle up, and let's talk about our next 10 players. All right, so let's kick it off with number 79, my quarterback 9, Deshaun Watson, down in Houston. Now, this is a guy that honestly could finish as a top 5 quarterback, right? We know that. But when your crazy head coach decides to get rid of the top weapon in your offense and replace him with Brandon Cooks, now you've got a ton of guys around you that are one play away from spending the rest of the offseason on the couch eating Cheetos. Deshaun Watson could go from having a lot of weapons to no weapons within a couple of games. This is a situation that is just too unpredictable for me. That's the best word to use for this, unpredictable, because anything could happen. Now, if we get through the offseason, get closer to training camp, get into training camp, preseason, all of that happens, and Deshaun Watson still has a lot of healthy players around him, then I'm probably going to bump him up some spots. Right now, I'm 3 spots lower than him at quarterback, but that's okay because if you want to spend a top pick at quarterback this year, I'm going to go with somebody that is a safer bet than Deshaun Watson. Right now, unless he were to fall down further into the later rounds, I just don't want to use that pick on him. Now, if you're drafting later in the offseason, things can get a little bit better. So at that point, then maybe we do consider it more. But for right now, Deshaun Watson, with the situation around him being too unpredictable, it is hard for me to use a pick on him this year. But what about number 78? I'm lower on Deshaun Watson, but my next player, James White, 13 spots higher right now than the ECR. I've got James White as my running back 28, but quite honestly, he is going to move up several spots higher because I put together all of my rankings and everything, and then right before I get ready to record this video, I find out that Sony Michel had an off-season procedure. So now Sony Michel isn't looking like that great of a bet because he could potentially start the year on the PUP list. We don't know for sure yet. We're going to have to wait and see what happens. But that also indicates that maybe Damian Harris is a guy that we need to be taking a look at a little bit more. But even if Damian Harris sees more time on the field this year, it's going to be at the expense of Sony Michel. It is not going to be the expense of James White. James White is going to be a safety outlet for Stidham in case he's having any issues. Maybe he doesn't grow as quickly, needs to check down, not comfortable, whatever it may be. James White to be down in the running back 30s right now is absolutely insane to me. This is a guy that you can get around the 9th round right now. Hopefully it gets a little bit higher come draft season, but if not, in PPR and half PPR formats, you need to be spending a 7th, 8th, 9th round pick, whatever it may be, to add James White to your team because he is a guy that could absolutely return more than enough value for you this year, and he will end up being a lot higher in my rankings the closer we get to the season. Turning our attention back to wide receiver, number 77, Michael Gallup from Dallas. Wide receiver 35, I would love to put Gallup a lot higher, and after the season he had last year, that would be excellent. But when you add a guy like CeeDee Lamb, it's going to cut into everybody's production. Now, here's the reason why I'm putting Michael Gallup a little bit lower, but not necessarily moving Amari Cooper lower. The talk is right now that Amari Cooper could be the guy that sees the most time in the slot out of these 3 wide receivers. If that happens, I think Amari Cooper at that point becomes the volume receiver. He is the guy that's going to get the most looks of all the wide receivers. Then CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup playing on the outside, they're going to be the guys fighting for some of those deeper targets. CeeDee Lamb is going to cut into that Michael Gallup production. It's going to happen if that's the case. It doesn't necessarily mean Michael Gallup is going to have a bad season, but it could be CeeDee Lamb one week, Michael Gallup the next. CeeDee Lamb one week, Michael Gallup the next. It could go back and forth. A crazy prediction for me this year, the Cowboys have a wide receiver one every single week of the season, but it could be any one of their 3 wide receivers any given week. That's how much confidence I have in this offense, but how little confidence I have on somebody within the wide receivers being a consistent producer. And because Michael Gallup, I think, will get hurt in the deep ball by CeeDee Lamb more than Amari Cooper would in his volume, that is why I would drop him a few spots lower, and I am a little bit lower in the ECR right now, just by 4 spots. But a wide receiver I'm really high on this year, Jamison Crowder. I have got him 12 spots higher right now because Crowder is going to be a volume monster for the Jets. Brashard Perryman, Denzel Mims on the outside. 2 athletic guys that absolutely could be decent this year. They are not guys that I expect to be top producers on a consistent basis. Last year, Jamison Crowder was a guy that we saw get peppered with targets over and over and over and over. And trust me, you are going to hear more on this channel about Jamison Crowder. We're going to go a lot more in depth about him this offseason. But in a PPR or a half PPR league where you can get Jamison Crowder as a wide receiver 4 or 5 on your team, absolutely do it, because you could start him in your flex every single week and get decent volume out of him and get decent half PPR and PPR points out of him. Do not be sleeping on Jamison Crowder. We're going to be talking about him a lot more. Number 75, my quarterback 8, Matt Ryan. I like him in the offense this year. Got him at my quarterback 8 because I still think they're going to throw it a little bit. The defense, even though it is a little bit improved, that division that they're in is going to be slinging the ball quite often. So if they're not stopping opposing offenses, they're going to have to play keep up. And that's why Matt Ryan is still a top 10 option at quarterback for me. However, with the addition of Todd Gurley, I do expect the run game to be a lot better this year than it was last year. So I do think that we see Matt Ryan's passing attempts come down a little bit. So I think he drifts back down a little bit more. We'll probably still be within that top 10, but I think they're going to be handing the ball off to Gurley a lot more than they did any of their running backs last year. So that's one of the reasons why I'm just a little bit lower on him. But he honestly might be one of the safest quarterbacks this year. So if you're spinning a pick on a quarterback, Matt Ryan is absolutely one of the safest quarterbacks I think you could choose this year. Moving on to number 74, my running back 27, Jonathan Taylor from the Indianapolis Colts. Now, Jonathan Taylor is a guy that honestly could finish all over the map in 2020. This is what I foresee happening to begin the year. To begin the year, Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor split a lot of the early down work, with Nyheim Hines being the guy that sees a lot of the pass catching work. As the season moves on and wears on, though, Jonathan Taylor is a much better running back than Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack's put up a couple of really good seasons, but it's been volume based. He's not the best running back in the world. He's not as good as what his rankings have been. He's just been able to take advantage of a really good offensive line. Jonathan Taylor is going to be able to do that and use his explosiveness and his talent to finish even higher. So the reason I've got him so low down at running back 27 right now is because it's going to be a tale of 2 seasons. The first half of the season is going to be a lot of split backfields. He's going to see some of his work limited, I believe. And as the season wears on, we're going to see him get a little bit more of the work week after week. But keep in mind, Marlon Mack is likely done in Indy after this year. So let's run Marlon Mack as much as possible, use him up, and then Jonathan Taylor is a guy that we can try to keep a little bit fresh after a huge workload in college, and next season is the year that we really unleash him. So this season, I see a split backfield, at least half the season, if not a little bit longer, and then as the season wears on, they give Taylor a little bit more and a little bit more work, and that's why right now I've got him at running back 27. But he's going to be a guy that I'm going to be targeting in trades early on in the season, because if he starts out slow, you might be able to get him pretty early in redrafts. In Dynasty, though, he is and will continue to be my running back 1. Absolutely love Jonathan Taylor. Just could be a rocky 2020. Number 73, my tight end 7, Darren Balls to the Waller. Absolutely love Darren Waller. If you watched this channel last year, you bought our draft guide, you knew that he was one of our main picks to break out, and it did happen. But keep in mind that the Las Vegas Raiders have added some decent weapons this year. They added Henry Ruggs, and they ended up adding Bryan Edwards in the passing game. And also you've got Tyrell Williams, who now is in year 2. And if he can be healthy all year, that would be a big benefit to Derek Carr. But I think we see the Las Vegas Raiders lean on that run game, using Josh Jacobs, running the football, controlling the game. And then we see some of those pass attempts, some of that volume that went to Waller last year, get spread out amongst the new guys. If that's the case, Waller is going to lose some volume, and that's why he drops 2 spots lower in the ECR for me, because I think he'll lose some volume, but I still think he'll be more efficient with some of that volume. So we could still see some pretty big plays, and we could still see some really, really good weeks for him. I just expect a little bit of inconsistency from him, and not nearly as much volume as we came to expect. So maybe he's not the safest play every single week. But still my guy. Still love Darren Waller. Not giving up on him. Just got him a little bit lower and setting those expectations a little bit lower. Number 72, Deebo Samuel from the San Francisco 49ers. We've got Ayuk there now, who's really got some of the same skill set that Deebo Samuel does. So I think they're going to be using them in kind of the same ways. Some end arounds. Maybe you've seen them lined up at the slot one time and in the backfield the next. A lot of different things you can do with these two guys. George Kittle is still going to be your number 1 target for Jimmy Garoppolo, and it is a run-heavy scheme that will continue to rely on the run game. So that's why I've got Deebo Samuel a little bit lower right now, just because I feel like the volume is not going to be there for him on a consistent basis. Now, Samuel can take it to the house anytime he touches the football from anywhere on the field. You just might not see all of those plays like we did at the end of last season. So still like Deebo Samuel, but I'm not drafting him as my wide receiver 2. I would much rather have him as my wide receiver 3 this year, or a little bit lower if you get some good bargains in the draft. But let's move on to a guy that didn't quite have the rookie season a lot of people expected, and that's Marquise Brown from the Baltimore Ravens. This is a guy that I think could step up and potentially challenge Mark Andrews for the number 1 target on the Ravens. Keep in mind that in his last game at Oklahoma, he hurt his foot. He had a Liz Frank injury, and he ended up playing all of 2020 with a pin in his foot. It caused some discomfort and issues at times. Because he had offseason surgery to take that out and should be 100% healthy by the time training camp gets here, he is a guy that will now be playing at 100% and has added some weight. I think adding the weight and bulking up a little bit without losing the speed was absolutely essential for Marquise Brown to become a top-tier talent in the league. I don't really ever expect him to be a wide receiver 1 type, but he is a guy that I expect to be somebody that could always take it to the house. He could always score a touchdown. A guy like a Marvin Jones, a big play threat in that offense. He might not be able to go and win those contested catches every single time, but he is a guy that I see being that big play, that explosive guy that's going to have those long touchdowns for you. But with the Ravens being a team that essentially is going to run the ball time after time after time, anytime you do that, those defenders, they creep towards the box a little bit more, and then all of a sudden, boom, you can go over the top, and Brown's got himself a long touchdown. So I definitely like Marquise Brown this year. Now that he's added some weight, he's bulked up a little bit, and he's going to be fully healthy. Number 70 to round out the top, to round out 70 through 79 of my top 100, Hunter Henry, my tight end 6. A lot of people are concerned about Tyrod Taylor. I am not nearly as concerned as everybody else, because Tyrod Taylor is a guy that can be consistent. He's not going to be great. He's not going to win football games, but he's not going to lose a whole lot of football games, in my opinion, either. He's also a guy that when he was at Buffalo, these are 2 different offenses, okay? So take this with a grain of salt, but at Buffalo, when he was with Buffalo, he was always targeting Charles Clay over and over and over. Hunter Henry could be that safety valve for him. That guy that just that familiarity with looking towards the tight end and using it, he's going to feel safe and comfortable going that way a little bit more often. I expect that to happen. However, this is a team that could air it out a little bit more as well. There's more than enough weapons in this offense with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler that people aren't going to fully be able to just concentrate on Hunter Henry. First and foremost, though, he's got to stay healthy. If he's healthy this year, he's definitely a guy that's going to be a top 10 tight end for me, and he's going to creep up towards some tight end 5 numbers. Right now, one spot higher on him. I've got him as my tight end 6. So there you have it, number 70 through 79. Do not forget, I want to give away some draft guides. So if you leave a comment below, I'm going to pick at least one of you that leave a comment below to give a draft guide to. But the more likes we get on this video, the more people I'm going to pick. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a beautiful weekend. I want to give away some draft guides. So let's do that. And if you want a quick peek at the draft guide, this is what you'd be getting from it. You can head to the Fantasy Headliners right now and pre-order it for $19.99. If you buy one right now, or if you've already purchased one and we pick you in this video, then we're going to refund you. So don't worry. If you really want the draft guide, go pre-order it. And then if we pick you, you're going to get a refund anyway. It's going to be darn near 600 pages, if not more. And we are super close to dropping it, people. It's almost here. It's going to be very, very soon. So there you have it, Headliner Nation. Make sure you comment. Make sure you like. And then most importantly, if you're new to Headliner Nation, hit that subscribe button and let us know in the comments so we can welcome you. Thanks so much for tuning in to this video. Everyone out there, stay safe, stay healthy. I'll see you on the next video. Have a good one.